Hey, Newbie Dan here, and this is a review of the Dustopper lid you can get at Home Depot. Some of you are waiting for the build video for my router lift, and trust me, that's coming. I'm hard at work on it. Very hard at work on it. But in the meantime, I thought you might enjoy this review. The Dustopper is a lid that goes on a 5-gallon bucket, like a Homer bucket from Home Depot. You insert it into your 2.5-inch dust collection system right before your shop vac. Just like other cyclones on the market, or even ones you make yourself, the Dustopper's purpose is to collect dust in a separate container so it doesn't clog up your shop vac's filter. It's a lot easier to empty a bucket than it is to clean out a filter, trust me. In order to do this review, I bought a Dustopper and used it for about a week. I'm going to compare it to my Dust Deputy to see which one sucks the most. Or the least. Whatever. So let's jump right in and unbox it. We've got a hose, the lid, some instructions, and some of these yellow thingies, and that's all that's in the box. Not that you need anything else. These yellow thingies are safety warnings, and I'll do what I always do with them. Same thing with the instructions. The lid seems pretty well made, solid plastic. This black piece is obviously what functions as a cyclone. The dust hose is just a little bigger than 2¼ inches. It's a decent quality hose, but not very long, and it's fairly stiff. The lid is labeled hose to vacuum here, and pickup hose here. Looks like the 90-degree elbow is detachable, so that's nice. So let's hook it up. I have a rig for my shop vac and dust bucket. You'll probably want to make your own rig of some kind, or the bucket will probably keep falling over. I disconnected my hoses and set aside my current lid. The Dustopper is extremely loose on the bucket. Apparently this doesn't matter, as you'll see in a moment, but it was a little disconcerting at first. Some people have said their Dustoppers snap onto their Homer buckets very tightly. Since my Homer bucket is so old, I bought a new bucket from Home Depot to see if the size changed, but it seemed about the same. So I don't know why some people report different findings. I hooked it up using my existing hoses just to see how it works. I'll use different hoses in a minute. When I turn it on, the suction on the lid keeps it pressed down solidly against the bucket, and surprisingly, I can't feel any air leakage. Doesn't mean there isn't any, but I can't feel any. So far, so good, although it seems much louder. So let's compare the volume with the Dustopper attached to the volume with my Dust Deputy attached. I'm using an old Radio Shack volume meter, and my current setup comes in at about 83 decibels. This time when I put the Dustopper back on, I replaced the hoses with ones that are a more appropriate length, just in case they were affecting the volume. The Dustopper comes in at about 87 decibels. A jump from 84 to 87 decibels doesn't seem like a big difference, but I have to tell you, the Dustopper is really noisy. It's a different kind of sound and not very pleasant. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's kind of hard to describe. So let's compare airflow. I'm using an anemometer for this. It's got a fan attached to it, and that's how it measures airflow. I've set it to show CFM, which stands for cubic feet per minute. Some of you will say that this can't be a valid CFM reading without taking into account the diameter of the hose, among other things, but we don't really care about that. The only thing we'll use this number for is to compare two readings taken in the same way. So for comparison's sake, this is a perfectly valid number to use. I'm holding the fan on the end of one of my dust hoses, which you can't see, but trust me when I say that I use the fan in exactly the same way for both readings. The Dustopper comes in at somewhere between 4320 and 4350, give or take. My Dust Deputy reads somewhere around 4840. So that's a definite difference. Someone else can do the math. Oh yeah, check out this warning sticker. This anemometer is not a taser, in case you wondered. I used the Dustopper for a week. It's definitely noisier, and I ended up using my earplugs much more often. It certainly seemed like I didn't get as much suction, but honestly, I could have been influenced by knowing the CFM readings beforehand. I really should have taken those readings after using it so they didn't affect my opinion, but it's too late now. Still, I have to say that I think the difference was noticeable. Is it a showstopper for the Dustopper? Hang on, don't get ahead of me here. When I hooked up the Dustopper, this is what my dust bucket looked like. Close to empty. Here's what it looked like after using the Dustopper for a week. It's got about 3 inches of dust in it, which is plenty for a decent test. I started with my shop vac like this, almost nothing in it. And here it is afterwards, and it looks just about the same. I couldn't really show you the filter itself, but it's the same also. So I have to say that the Dustopper does do what it's supposed to do, which is keep dust out of the shop vac and out of the shop vac filter. I have to admit, I like my Dust Deputy more than the Dustopper, but that could be nothing more than cognitive bias, since I've had the Dust Deputy for such a long time. But near as I can tell, the Dust Deputy is probably somewhat more efficient. The real question is, however, do I think the Dustopper is a good product, and is it worth your money? And the answer is a resounding yes, I think it's a great product. It's incredibly easy to use and does exactly what it says it does. It's cheaper than the Dust Deputy by about $10, depending on where you get it, and it's much simpler to install. My feeling is, if you buy the Dustopper, I think you'll be quite happy with it. And if not, Home Depot has a great return policy. I realize that this video is a little schizophrenic, but sometimes that's how life is. If you enjoyed this video in spite of my waffling, please give it a thumbs up and consider leaving a comment. Check out the description for links to products seen in this video. Just scroll down, click Show More, and scroll down until you see the links. And if you like what I do here, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to ring that bell to get notified about new videos. Thanks!